Hello, my name is Bagus Ananda Nosa Putraditya. I'm from EKI class, and on this occasion I will demonstrate to you the module that were given to us by using Proxmox virtual environment to install Ubuntu server and actually install several other applications in Ubuntu using Proxmox, and also using a virtual machine called VMware. So I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide from start to finish on how to finish this module. So let's start. So the first thing we're going to do is open up VMware. So the version that I'm using is the VMware 17, which the 17 player, not the Pro version. So hold on, let me just check. Okay, I'm recording. I'm just checking that I'm actually recording. Okay. So the first thing that we're gonna do is actually create our virtual machine. Like, as you can see on the left here, this is the example. I've already created several virtual machines which has a Proxmox ISO inside of it. So let's just create a new virtual machine. Okay. Like choose the ISO file of the Proxmox, which I already have here. Click next. And for the operating system we use Linux, and for the version we use Debian 11 64-bit. Why we use Debian? Because I believe that Proxmox is based on Debian architecture, so it works best with a Debian architecture, a Debian version of the Linux. So this is just the name. I'm just gonna give it a name, Proxmox. Proxmox Ocha. That's my name. So let's just give it that. Disk space, I usually give it 32 gigs. And before we finish, let's actually go to customize hardware, and we're gonna configure other stuff as well. For the memory, I usually use 6,000 megabytes. For the processors, I usually use 3. And this is the most important part, I think, to make this thing work, to make Proxmox work with our device. So the default settings is actually NAT, but what we want to actually use is the bridged connection right here, connected directly to the physical network. And after that, we want to check this setting, the replicate physical network connection state, so that it can actually read our connection. So yes, that's all the settings that we're going to change. We change from NAT to bridge, close, and then finish. So that's it. And this is our virtual machine. And let's install the virtual machine. And here it is. So disclaimer, I just want to give you a disclaimer that I have other Proxmox that has all of the containers of the group members. We decided to create the videos by ourselves and create ourselves a new Proxmox. So usually at campus there's many people walking around, there's many noises, so to make the best video possible, so we decided to make the video at our own home. So we decided to make sort of a demonstration Proxmox to just for the recording purpose of this video. But we actually have the other IP address that already have all of the containers, all of the application installed in our other IP address using the campus Wi-Fi connection. Oh, and also I want to tell you that I'm not using a Wi-Fi, but I'm using an Ethernet connection. So this actually works the same as a Wi-Fi, so it doesn't really matter. I use Ethernet because that's what I usually use at home at my PC. So yes, I'm gonna use an Ethernet connection, but it works actually the same with the Wi-Fi, so no problem there. I just want to tell you that. So this is for a demonstration purpose only, so that's why I'm creating a new Proxmox VE. So I'm just gonna install this using the graphical interface. Yeah, and also I have the module right here on my phone. So I want to focus on the terminal itself, so I split it into my phone. I have it here, so you might see me going up and down, you know, going back and forth between the screen and the phone, so I just want to clarify that. So yeah, right, let's just wait for a moment. And the installation process might take a while, so okay, if the notification like this appears, let's just click OK. Let's just ignore that for now, and blah blah blah. Who reads who actually reads this, you know? Just click agree, next. Indonesia, I usually just use the default settings, and for the password I set it by myself. Yeah, I'm making sure I don't make a mistake inputting the password. Okay. Oh. And as you can see here, the IP address and the gateway and the DNS server, I leave it as it is. I leave it as default. I don't touch it. I don't, you know, I don't mess with it, because this is the IP address that were given by Proxmox to access the web browser GUI, so that I can, you know, access all of the containers, all the VMs, etc. So I'm not touching the IP address at all. I'm just changing the host name. So yeah, this is just for demonstration purpose. So let's just click next and install. So this might take a while. I might cut this later, so I don't know. This is just a process of creating the VMs. Ooh, that's quite fast. Yeah, in the meantime, I might just cut this off. I might just cut this actually at the at the editing later. All right. Yeah, this will take a while. I've tried this several times actually. Previously I've used VirtualBox, but I've had no success. I mean, I had success with it, but using an Ethernet cable. But when using a Wi-Fi, it's a mess. It just doesn't work. I don't know the settings. I just couldn't seem to figure it out, and yeah, I decided to use VMware instead, and it works apparently. Yeah, maybe the way both of the virtual machines work is different, so I don't know, maybe VMware is better. It is what it is. So that's why I'm using a VMware, simply because it works for me. I mean, previously it works using an Ethernet on VirtualBox, but then when I'm using a Wi-Fi on VirtualBox, it just doesn't seem to work. So yeah, that's why I'm using a VMware. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Okay, reboot. And just wait. So we just have to access the IP address that were given to us to our web browser, so that we can access the Proxmox web browser GUI. That way we can create our container in there. Alright. So this is the IP address that we are going to use when configuring our Proxmox. So let me just go to the browser. Let me just ignore this for a while. So the browser, we enter the IP address, so 168.120.8006. Okay. Wait, is it? Oh, sorry. It's the wrong IP. Okay, my bad. So there we go. Okay. Whew. I was afraid that it crashed for a moment, but anyway, I entered the wrong IP. So if something like this appears, let's just ignore it. Just click advance and proceed to the IP. So it's just the browser telling you that, oh, this is not safe, but just ignore that. We're just going to log in with a user root and the password that we created previously. Login. Let's just ignore this one. Just click OK, and we are here at the Proxmox web browser GUI. So I'm using the VE version 8.2.2. Alright. So I'm going to explain the details of each and every menu here on Proxmox. I'm just going to show you the the way of installing the Ubuntu and actually getting into the Ubuntu itself. So we're going to start from here, the nodes, and then we click down here. So there's a drop down. We click on local PBE, CD templates, upload the Ubuntu templates. I use the Ubuntu server 22.04 LTS version. Okay, so let's just upload it and task OK. And now we're gonna create a CT or container. For the name, you can put anything here. I'm just gonna put my name, and also, yeah, this is just the host name of the container. I'm just gonna put in the password. There we go. And we choose the template that we previously uploaded. This one, the Ubuntu. Leave this as default, and I put the IP version 4 from static to DHCP and leave everything as it is, default, nothing else, just DHCP on IP version 4. That's it. Click next, and finish. So as you can see, I leave most of the settings on default except the IP version 4 settings. I changed to DHCP. Okay, task OK. And this is where the fun begins. Okay, so let me just start the Proxmox. Okay, I'm getting the module ready right now. Okay. So there are several things that we want to install in the container itself. So the first one, SSH and SFTP server in Ubuntu 22.04. Okay, let me just log in. Like that. There we go. So before I actually begin installing all of the application, let me just ping Google's IP to make sure that the internet connection works. Let me just ping that, and it works. Nice. Let me just Control C to cancel that, and as you can see here, 5 packets is received and 0% packet is lost. So that's a good sign. So our Ubuntu container is actually has an internet connection, and that's the problem that I encountered previously using VirtualBox. It just doesn't seem to connect to the internet for some reason. I don't know, but using VMware it works out of the box. Let me just ping google.com and just want to make sure, and it works. Control C. Now we can actually start. So the first one is the SSH and SFTP server on Ubuntu. Okay, let me just check for updates. So the command is apt update, so it will get all of the updates. It'll check all of the available updates. So let me just wait. Okay, read the package list, and as you can see here, 156 packages can be upgraded. So I'm going to upgrade all of it by entering the command apt upgrade. So yep, click Y, yes, and it'll update everything. Okay. So installing an SSH and SFTP actually needs other software as well. The other software is called Putty, P-U-T-T-Y. I don't know the pronunciation of it. Putty, I don't know. That's the SSH software, and also the SFTP is WinSCP. So we're gonna need 2 of those software to check whether this SSH and SFTP feature works properly. Okay. So just wait for the progress to finish. This is actually upgrading the packages on all of the Ubuntu server. Okay. Done. Okay. Now let's start from the first one. We're going to install OpenSSH-server-y. So we will install the SSH server. Do that, and then done. And then let's enable the SSH server by entering this command, the enable /now SSH. So it'll actually enable it immediately, so you don't have to reboot the system to enable it. Okay, So after that, let me check. Okay, we're checking the status of the SSH, and as you can see here, active, running. So that's a good sign. So it is active, but we're not done yet. So we have to allow the SSH port, which is the port 22, to actually access the virtual machine. So click that, allow SSH, and then check the status of it. It currently, the status is inactive, so it is not active yet. So we have to enable it by UFW enable, and then yep, it is enabled. And let me just check. Oh, sorry, UFW status, and here you can see the status now is active, so we are good to go. But before that, let me just reboot the system just to make sure, you know, just to make sure it works properly. I just reboot the system. Okay, we're back. So it, okay, so actually I forget, let me just, okay, so it is, when I reboot the system, it is actually inactive now. So let me just enable it again by entering this command, enable now, and let me just check now, and it is active. Nice. Now let's configure all of the directories of the SSH. So we're gonna change directories using the cd command to etc ssh, and we are going to configure the sshd config file. sshd, oh sorry, nano sshd underscore config. There we go. Now wait, can you actually, oh, I forgot I forgot to zoom in the browser. Anyway, hopefully it is more visible now. Okay, so there are a couple of things here that we need to configure. The first one is we are deleting the hash in port 22. So the hash, the hash actually works as a comment on this file. So when we delete the hash, we actually activate that feature. So the SSH feature, which is the port 22, we delete the hash to activate the SSH. So that's what we essentially do here. And then after the port 22, we are going to configure this one, the permit root login. Change that from prohibit password to yes. And then the pub key authentication or public key authentication, actually activate that as well. And also the, where is it? This, the password authentication, also activate that one. And after that, click Ctrl X, yes, and enter. So that's the way to save and exit of the folder. Nice. We get the SSHD config. Now we enter the SSH config. For this one, again, the password authentication and also the port 22, so we can access it by SSH later on. Control X, Y, enter. Easy, right? So the next one, we're going to create a password for the root, user. So the command is password root. Let me just enter the password, retype it again, and there we go. Now let's check. Oh, before that, let me just restart my SSH. Oh, sorry. And after that, let's check from the previously mentioned software called Putty, P-U-T-T-Y. Again, I don't know the official pronunciation, but I'm just going to call it Putty. So we're going to access it from here, and what we want to input here is actually the IP address of our container, not the host or the server, no, the node, not the node, or simply the Proxmox IP address that we get, but actually the IP address of the container itself. So we're checking the IP address of the container by this command, the IPA, enter, and then as you can see here, our container's IP address. So this is what we're going to input in the PuTTY itself. So let's just do that. 168.1.22, and make sure we use the port 22 and connection type, and the connection type is SSH, and we click open. If it appears like this, just click accept. It's just gonna happen the first time that you connect to this IP address. And let me just log in as root, the usual password, and there we go. We successfully accessed our own container by using SSH. So what this does is actually accessing it remotely, not directly on the Ubuntu itself in the Proxmox machine, but we can actually access it by remotely using an SSH like PuTTY by inputting the IP address itself. So yeah, for this one it works. For the PuTTY using the SSH, it works. Now let me just minimize this one, and now we're going to configure the SFTP of our server. Let me just change directory to, again, etc SSH. Let me just get into the SSHD config folder once again, and we're gonna go all the way down here. Let me see. Okay, so we're going to type here a new command. Okay, so match user root, and I have it on the module here, so several features that we have to enable and disable. Okay, so the first one is password authentication. Let me just type in that. The second one, root, chroot directory / permit tunnel no, allow agent forwarding no, allow TCP forwarding yes, X11 forwarding yes. So I think that's all. Yeah, password authentication yes, root chroot directory yes, permit tunnel no, allow agent forwarding no, allow TCP forwarding yes, X11 forwarding yes. So we have to actually type it ourselves, all of this this command on the SSHD config file. Okay, after that we just have to exit, save, and it should work as expected. So before that, let me just restart the SSH once again, and let me just open the other software called WinSCP right here. Okay, so we input our container's IP address, which I forget again, 22. Okay, 122. So we actually input our own container's IP address in here. So root, the usual password, click login, and again, if something like this appears, just click accept, and you should be good. And this is the SFTP using WinSCP. This is all my folder. Oh, a lot of gaming folders. Okay, so yeah, we have successfully installed the SSH using a PuTTY and SFTP using WinSCP, and both worked perfectly. So the first step, the first application, oh sorry, no, we still have several steps here. Okay, so from PuTTY we want to actually check the connection of the SSH, so and the SFTP. So by entering this command, SFTP root at, and entering our own container's IP address, and then type yes for the first fingerprint, and then input the password, and as you can see, connected to my IP address, and you can see SFTP over here, so it's successfully connected to that IP address. And I also want to try from the command prompt, the Windows command prompt. So by clicking Windows, pressing Windows key, and then typing cmd, I'm going to try that as well. So SFTP root 168.1.22, Okay, fingerprint, yes. Enter the password and boom, connected to my own IP address, and this means it's successfully connected to the SFTP and the SSH IP address. So yes, the first application, the first part of the module finished. Now for the second part, which is going to be the Nginx, or the Ubuntu's web server, if I'm from what I understand. So Nginx is actually the web server from Ubuntu server. Okay, let me just get out there. Okay, now because I already updated all of the packages, I don't have to all of the updating once again, but let's just check by entering apt update. It's written the package list, blah, 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 and as you can see here, all of the packages are up to date, so I don't have to update it again. I'll just have to install, this time Nginx-y. It'll install everything. Okay, now it already installed everything from the Nginx, and we just now we just have to check the status of the Nginx itself, and there we go, it is active. Nice. Ooh, love that green the green font of the active. Anyway, so it is already active, but before we actually can access the web server itself, now we have to allow several ports so that we can actually access the web server. So the first port is port 80, which is the HTTP port, and then 443, which is the HTTPS port. Yes, that's correct. So you have, just like the previous SSH port, which is port 22, it's the exact same command, but it's just different ports. So UFW allow 80, and then UFW allow 443. And I'm just gonna check the status and make sure that the port that we added is allow. All of the action is allow. So this is the SSH port, which is port 22. The port 80 is HTTP, and 443 is port for HTTPS. So all of these are allowed, and we are good to go. Okay, let me just restart. Oops. Restart the Nginx, and now we can go to the web server by using our browser again, typing in our container's IP address, which I forget once again. 122. Okay, 122, and we should now see the web server, which is the Nginx server. So there we go. If you see this welcome message, it means it successfully installed the web server, the Nginx web server, and we can actually just change the way this looks. We can change the layout using the HTML and CSS. So let's try and do that right now. So by entering to this directory by nano, so nano is the command to enter to a certain directory. Nano var www.html index.nginx-debian.html. There we go. So this is the actual HTML layout of our Nginx website. So it's the exact same here. So you can see welcome to Nginx. This is the text, the heading 1, and then for the title, welcome to Nginx. This is the title of web server. So let's try to change a couple things here. Maybe welcome to my website, and then let's try and change the background color. Oh no, the background maybe to sky blue maybe, and then in the body here, let me just put in heading 1. Let's say hello world. Let me just save that, and we go back here, and there we go. It actually changes the way the web looks. So this is the text that I added, hello world, and the title that I've changed, and also the background color that I've changed to sky blue. So yeah, you can actually edit it directly here on this folder. So that's just a little demonstration of an Nginx. You can do a lot of things here if you want to, you know, create a proper working website. Maybe you can change the way it looks based on your preferences here. So this is just a demonstration purpose, you know. You can actually change it directly in the Ubuntu itself. So yes, that's it. That's it for Nginx. So we successfully installed the second part of the module, which is the Nginx web server. Now the third part is installing MySQL. Alright, so again, I don't have to update anything because everything has been upgraded, so I don't have to check anymore for updates. So I'm just going to directly install MySQL-server-y. Okay. Oh, it's quite big, 200 megabytes. Okay, let's just wait for a moment. It's quite a lot of files. Let's just wait for a moment. Okay. Oh, it's fast. Okay. Let's just let the Ubuntu do its thing. Okay. Wow, it's quite a lot of files. Okay, it's done. So the next step after installing that MySQL server is actually now do the proper installation of the MySQL by entering this command, MySQL_secure_installation. Okay. Oh, sorry. Not dash, but underscore. My bad. Okay. So I don't want to create a password for my MySQL, so I'm just gonna press enter. So you can actually press any other key other than Y to do this. So I'm just gonna press enter. So MySQL will not have a password to enter to the MySQL. So yeah. And then for the remove anonymous user, yes. And then disallow for root login remotely, yes. And remove test database, also yes. And lastly, reload privileged tables now, also yes. And it is done, all done. And actually, on the module it is done, but let me just check now. If I enter to the MySQL using this command, MySQL -u root -p, and just press enter because I have no password, and done. Yes, so this is the MySQL. Welcome to MySQL Monitor. So we've actually successfully installed MySQL on our Ubuntu server. Let me just exit of that, and that's the third part of the module finished. Now let's do the fourth part, which is PHP. Now this one is an interesting one because when I try to install it directly here, so I'm not doing any upgrade as usual because I already upgraded all of the packages. But when I actually want to do the installation of this, so okay, so we're installing the PHP 8.3 version, but the default version of our Ubuntu server is actually the version 7.4. So we want to install the 8.3, but the default version is 7.4, so it's creating problems here. Let me just show you. So and then MySQL PHP 8.3-CLI-Y. So usually when we install a software, an application in Ubuntu server, it successfully installed it, right, like we did previously. But for this case, if we directly install the PHP 8.3, it doesn't work. It'll show an error message like this. So let's see. It's unable to locate the package of the PHP 8.3, and it is all the same error message for all of this application. Why? Because our Ubuntu version doesn't have the repository or the packages of the PHP 8.3 available by default, because by default it's installing the 7.4 version of PHP, but we want to install the 8.3 version, so it doesn't have that version. So what we can do now is actually sort of like getting the repository or getting the folder that contains the 8.4 version, the 8.3 version of PHP from the Ubuntu archives. Let me just show you. Okay, so I have it here. I checked it on a website. I just searched it on the Google, and I find the way to get the repository and actually successfully install the PHP 8.3 from there. So let's just first of all install curl gpg gnupg2. This is actually like the naming convention of the Ubuntu archives that honestly I don't really know that deeply yet, so I'm just following the instructions here. So software dash properties dash common ca dash certificates apt transport https lsb dash release dash y. Okay, so what we're doing right now is actually we're getting the repository or the folder from the Ubuntu archive so that we can actually have the PHP 8.3 version, the 8.3 version of PHP that we're getting from the repository. So after that we want to enter this command, the add apt repository ppa php. So let me explain this command. So the first command here is adding the repository, right? And ondrej/php, ondrej is actually the person that keeps the PHP version updated on Ubuntu archives, and /php is the PHP itself that we want to upgrade. So enter this command and then click enter, wait for a moment, and then click enter again, and it should get us the packages or the repository of the 8.3 version of PHP. Okay, now after we've done that, now we can actually install the PHP 8.3. So let me just apt install PHP 8.3-fpm, PHP 8.3-mysql, PHP 8.3-cli-y. You're gonna see now that it actually works compared to the previous one. So let me just press enter and voila, it works. Because at our current version of Ubuntu, it doesn't have again that repository or the archive of the 8.3 version of PHP. So it doesn't have that, so we cannot install it directly. So we have to get the repository from the archive of Ubuntu. So yeah, so after this, so we just have to wait for the installation to finish. Whew, to be honest, this is quite exhausting. I've been talking for like half an hour. Okay. Okay, so let me just check the status now, the status of the PHP, just making sure it works properly. So the fpm, and as you can see, it works fine, it works properly because it's active, it's running. So okay, that's nice. Now let's change the directory, not the directories, the folder, the files, and the configuration of that files to make this properly work. So the way we do that is we enter the command nano /atc/nginx sites sites available default. Nice. So we want to change here. We want to read the comments here. Add index.php to the list if you are using PHP, which we are using PHP. So we're gonna add index.php onto that list, and then for the location here, change that from 404 to something like this. The index.php question mark $sign. Where's the $sign? Here it is. Index.php question mark $sign args. Okay. And several of these we want to actually activate by deleting the hash sign. This one we delete the hash, this one also, and we want to delete this one and this one. And don't forget, like I said previously, the default version of PHP that is installed on our system is the 7.4 version of PHP. So we want to install the 8.3 version of PHP. So we want to change this from 7.4 to 8.3. So now it should be good. So let me just check. I'm still recording. Yes, I'm still recording. I just want to make sure that I'm still recording. Okay, let's go back here. Nice. So we've already configured that, and just check the syntax. If there's any error, it will show it is not okay. But if the syntax is good, then it'll show us the success message. So let me just check, and it's success. So syntax is okay and test is successful. So our configuration is finished here. It is working. And now let me check whether our PHP is already successfully installed or not by creating a PHP file, and we're actually going to access those PHP file on the web browser to see if it works. So by doing that, by how we're gonna do that is, again, we go to nano var www.html info.php. So see, it is empty. So in the info.php, we want to enter this specific set of command, question mark php info, and then question mark, like that. Yes, that should be it. And then save. And now let me just restart the Nginx once again, and again I want to check. I'm recording. Okay, I'm recording. So now let's go to our browser once again. Let me just copy that IP address, paste it, and after the IP address, we're gonna put info.php. So if it works, it should show us the PHP page on the web. So let me just press enter, and there we go. It works. Now our PHP version is upgraded from 7.4 to 8.3, as you can see right here. Now this is a sign that we successfully installed the PHP on our web server. Nice. Now the last part of the module. Oh, finally. Ooh. The last part is installing PHP MyAdmin. Okay, let me just go back to the console once again. Again, I don't have to update anything because I already have everything updated. So let me just install PHP MyAdmin. There we go. Press Y. Okay. Whew. My throat is kind of sore, to be honest, but yeah, let me just continue just a little bit. This is the last part of the module, installing PHP MyAdmin. Okay. Whew. Okay. Let me just wait just a bit, and okay. So for this one, I'm just gonna press enter. Right? Let me just leave it at default settings. It works like that. For some reason, in the module, it shows that you can actually go to the OK button, but for some reason I cannot do that. So I just press enter. It works. So for this one, configuring PHP MyAdmin, yes. So setting a password and confirming the password. and then wait for the installation, and it is done. That's it. And now we want to allow the phpMyAdmin to be accessed by the local host via our IP address. So what we're gonna do now is typing this command ln -s usr share /phpmy slash phpMyAdmin /var /www/html /phpMyAdmin. So now we should be able to access the phpMyAdmin from our web browser by using our own IP address. Okay, before we do that, we want to actually create an account on the MySQL. So MySQL -u. So this is the we've previously done this when we install MySQL, so it actually works. So yep, we are in MySQL. We're going to create a user. So by using this command, create user. Okay, so the username, you can put any username. For the one that I'm using, that one. At localhost identified by, so identified by this command is actually the password of our user, right? So the create user is creating the username, and identified by is creating the password of that user. Okay, so for the password, I'm just gonna put in something like this, semicolon. Nice. Query OK. Now we're setting the privileges, all privileges on to, I'm just following the modules here, to my name. So the user at localhost. Oops. Okay, query OK. And lastly, we want to flush the privileges. Oh, nice. Let me just exit off MySQL, and now finally we should be able to access our phpMyAdmin on our own web browser using our own IP address, just like the other. So entering our own IP address slash and then entering phpMyAdmin, and it should lead us directly to our phpMyAdmin server. Let me just do that. Copy paste this one, change that to phpMyAdmin, and there we go. Whew. So for the username, I'm just going to enter the username that I've created previously and the password also, and click enter, and it works. Whoa, okay, so that should cover everything of the module. So in summary, we've already done a lot. So we've installed SSH. Let me just check. So we've installed SSH and SFTP. We've installed Nginx web server. We've installed MySQL, PHP, and lastly PHP. So everything works properly. As you can see here, this is the phpMyAdmin. This is PHP. So this is just checking whether the PHP is working properly or not. So if something like this show up, then it works properly. And this is the Nginx web server. It works perfectly. Nice. So yeah, that's about everything. I guess this practicum is, the point is we can create a web server and then actually access those web server remotely by using an SSH port. So that's what I understood from this. Yeah, so that's it. Oh, that's been quite a long time I've been recording. Okay. Okay. My name is the Bagus Ananda Nosa Putraditya from Iki class. Signing off.